I have the opportunity to talk a little bit today about how the work that we did as a REL-NEES study focusing on these prescriptions, how we worked with the district, and then how we used the study to drive action. So how that study helped to inspire and motivate some action. So the first thing I would say is that reflecting on the presentation today and thinking about Jill's presentation of some of the pitfalls, I think one of the big challenges with this study was being careful not to end up with people overreaching in their interpretation of the findings or jumping to conclusions that might not be accurate, particularly because this is, a fairly sensitive study thinking about the use of evaluation results, teachers who've been identified as needing improvement. So I take the example of the study finding here. For all standards, less than 40% of teachers surveyed participated in all the activities their evaluators recommended. So for that finding, we wanted to be careful that we weren't overreaching or folks didn't misinterpret it. It would be wrong to have a takeaway of, wow, 60% of teachers aren't following their principal's directions, so there must be something wrong with the relationship between teachers and principals. That would not be an appropriate conclusion based on this finding. But it is a finding that sort of demands digging deeper and trying to understand what's happening, where there's room for growth and improvement within the process itself, and so we asked the question, are the prescriptions themselves the problem, or what's happening here that there's something of a disconnect between what evaluators are recommending and what teachers are doing to improve their practice? And we were aware in our conversations with the district and my colleagues who you're going to hear from today that the results of the study suggest a need for better training on the nature of what we call a high-quality prescription. Evaluators, we know from our work with the district, had received very little training on what types of suggestions, what types of feedback, what kinds of directions were most appropriate for these prescriptions. And as a result, one of the things the study uncovered was the significant variation that existed in these prescriptions. Some were this laundry list of general instructional strategies, engage more students, do more group activities. Others were more specific, advice to teachers to read, for example, an excerpt from John Saffier's book. Some of the prescriptions were very simple, get to work on time, turn in lesson plans weekly. But again, the variation was really considerable, and it begged the question, well, what makes for a quality prescription? And the study itself did not evaluate the quality of prescriptions, yet it certainly emerged as something that warranted further investigation. So we as researchers, in partnership with our colleagues, Jerome and Leah, set out to create a rubric that would help to evaluate the prescriptions. And we employed a systematic process. One of the benefits of being researchers and practitioners together was we brought our research knowledge, Leah and Jerome brought practitioner knowledge, and together in this very collaborative way, we developed this rubric and we tested it with a sample of prescriptions and worked together to clarify the issues that we uncovered because we had different understandings of quality. So simply engaging in this activity, and you'll see this image here, we did end up publishing an article. Someone gave the example of practitioner-friendly places to publish our work. So this, again, this was an outgrowth of that original study, a very different project, but we ended up publishing it in Principal Leadership. But I would argue that just engaging in the activity together of creating the rubric, testing the rubric with prescriptions, helped Jerome and Leah and their colleagues to gain clarity about what the elements of a high-quality rubric were, and then drove additional work that I'll turn over to Leah and Jerome to talk about from here.